Contracts are the backbone of business relationships. But what happens when it's time to end them? Today, we're exploring discharge by agreement in contracts, a crucial concept in contract law that determines how and when contractual obligations come to an end. Discharge by agreement occurs when parties mutually decide to terminate a contract. This can happen through fulfillment of the contract's terms or by mutual consent before completion. There are several ways this can occur, each with its own implications. Let's start with discharge by performance. This is the most straightforward method, where all parties fulfill their obligations as outlined in the contract. For example, if you hire a contractor to build an addition to your home, the contract is discharged when the work is completed to your satisfaction and you've made the final payment. Sometimes, substantial performance is enough to discharge a contract. This means that while there might be minor deviations from the original agreement, the core obligations have been met. For instance, if the contractor finishes your home addition but leaves some small cosmetic issues unresolved, the contract may still be considered discharged if these issues don't significantly impact the overall purpose of the work. On the other hand, partial performance, where significant duties remain incomplete, typically does not discharge a contract unless explicitly accepted by the other party. This often involves adjusting payments to reflect the incomplete work. Now, let's look at mutual discharge methods. One such method is novation, which involves substituting an old contract with a new one. All parties must agree to this change, and the new contract must be legally enforceable. For instance, if you exchange a defective product for a new one, you're entering into a new contract with the vendor, discharging the old one. Another method is alteration, where parties agree to change specific terms of the original contract. This discharges the previous contract and creates a new one with the altered terms. It's important to note that all parties must consent to these changes for them to be valid. Rescission is yet another way to discharge a contract by agreement. This involves canceling the contract and returning all parties to their original positions, as if the contract had never existed. Often, this is formalized through a release agreement, allowing both parties to move forward without penalty. Lastly, let's discuss frustration as grounds for termination. Unlike the previous methods, frustration automatically discharges a contract when unforeseen events make its performance impossible or fundamentally different from what was originally agreed. For example, if a natural disaster destroys the subject of the agreement, the contract may be discharged due to frustration. This doesn't require consent from either party, as it arises from circumstances beyond their control. In conclusion, discharge by agreement in contracts can occur through performance, mutual agreement, or external circumstances. Understanding these concepts is crucial for managing contractual relationships effectively. Whether it's through fulfillment, novation, alteration, rescission, or frustration, knowing how and when a contract can be discharged empowers parties to navigate their agreements with confidence and clarity.